entire crew. Travis Eldridge signing off from... What's up? What's happening? Welcome to Lacrosse Now. He's Brendan Glasheen. I'm Travis Eldridge. Couple of spots in the semifinals up for grabs tonight in the Patriot League.
And one of those games is in progress right now. We'll get to them. We're going to start in the Big Ten, where it's no surprise who was named the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, that award going to Penn State's Grant Amen. Huge surprise there. Not so much. What a season for him. Likely the first of a number of awards for the junior. Coming off missing all of last season with an injury, Ament came back with authority. 88 points, including 71 assists, both Penn State single-season records, and he's just 6 assists from the NCAA single-season record. He's the only player in the country averaging more than 7 points a game at the moment.
The Rookie of the Year award goes to Hopkins freshman Joey Epstein. The former #1 overall recruit in the nation has made his impact felt immediately. Epstein led the Blue Jays with 53 points, ranking second in the Big Ten. In goals and points per game, Epstein put up 5 or more points in all but one Big Ten conference game.
So here are your rest of your Big Ten award winners. Penn State coach Jeff Tambroni getting the nod as Coach of the Year. Another Nittany Lion earns Defensive Player of the Year. Chris Sabia brings home that honor. He's got 16 caused turnovers so far this season. Meanwhile, Rutgers goalie Max Edelman and Ohio State faceoff man Justin Inacio share co-specialist of the year. Inacio top 10 in the nation in faceoff win percentage. Edelman, #1 in the country in saves per game. Big Ten tournament starts Thursday at Rutgers.
The SoCon tourney also starts on Thursday, but before that, High Point star Asher Nolting had some hardwood to collect. Nolting was named the conference's Offensive Player of the Year for the second straight season. As only a sophomore, he already has nearly 150 career points. This season, he ranks top 5 in the nation with nearly 6 points per game.
Here are the rest of the SoCon award winners. Brandon Jones from Air Force, part of the #1 defense in the country. He's your Defensive Player of the Year. Riley C.A. from Bellarmine, the Rookie of the Year, and High Point coach John Torpy gets the nod as Coach of the Year. Torpy has led this Panthers team to upset wins over Duke and Virginia, of course, earlier this season.
All right, postseason awards obviously means it's conference tournament time, folks, and for leagues around the country, action's getting going this week.
Yeah, why don't we run through a couple of tourneys to keep your eye on as we jump into this week, and we're going to start with these guys in the Big East. Denver likely has to win the tournament just to get an NCAA tournament berth. It's something the Pioneers haven't done since 2015. They haven't won the Big East tournament since then, and they have to play the only team that beat them in the conference in the regular season in the semis. That's Villanova. The Wildcats went to Peter Barton Stadium back April 6th. They beat the Pios. That's the only Big East regular season loss in Denver history. Yes, Denver history. That was the only time they lost a Big East regular season game. So that Denver-Villanova rematch is the late semifinal on CBS Sports Network Thursday night. The first semifinal pits 2-seed Georgetown against 3-seed Providence. The Friars jumping to the 3-seed by beating Villanova over the weekend. Everybody's beaten everybody in this conference. Hoyas, of course, are the reigning tourney champs. They beat Denver in last year's title game.
Meanwhile, in New York City, the Ivy League meets at Columbia for its tournament. The semifinal to watch #2 Yale versus #9 Cornell, two of the top teams in the country meeting in a league semi. In the first meeting, Yale handled Cornell 16-11. That was back in mid-March. The face-off X was a big spot in that game, Yale winning 24 of the 30 face-offs. Thank you, T.D. Erlin. Here's the full Ivy League tournament bracket. It showcases 3 top 10 teams, including the top seed, #3 Penn. The Quakers are one of the hottest teams in the country, winners of 9 straight entering the dance. Penn plays Brown in the other Ivy League semifinal. That's something else. 3 top 10 teams in one conference tournament. Here's Evan Washburn.
We now bring in analyst Evan Washburn for some tournament projections. You ready, Evan? You got to put on your, get your crystal ball out and figure out who's going to win some of these things.
I'm very comfortable being wrong. So here, let's go.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be wrong in some of these. Why don't we start in the Big Ten? Hopkins surprises everybody, goes and not only beats Maryland, but kind of beats them up on the road. Who do you like in the Big Ten? Is it just Penn State? Can Maryland come back? Who do you like?
I like Penn State to win it. They're going to beat Maryland, in my opinion. I think that Johns Hopkins' victory was crucial for keeping their at-large hopes alive. I guess they're on that fringe still, and just kind of returning some pride to that program after what's a challenging season. But I don't see them beating a team twice in 2 weeks. Like they've got to face Maryland again, but all that to me lines up for Penn State having a chance to cement what's been a fantastic regular season and give them all the momentum necessary to go into the NCAA tournament and try and exercise the demons.
Yeah, crazy to think, but even if Penn State loses to Rutgers in the semis, they still might be the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday. Why don't we go somewhere that may be a little bit more wide open? The Big East. Denver's hosting. They are the top seed, but Villanova got them in the regular season. Providence has come on as of late. Who do you like?
I like Denver because it's at home, and I like the roadmap for them. I think that Villanova embarrassed them, giving them their first ever Big East loss in the regular season. They're at home. I'm not sure you're going to get that type of goaltending performance again out of a freshman as talented as he is. And I think that lines up for Denver. To me, it's Denver, Georgetown in a championship game, and I think having the home field advantage in that layout, especially when it comes to the travel that's necessary, come to the altitude, all those things. And Georgetown went out there and got boat raced early in the year. I'm not sure I like Georgetown in that game. So while I admit, and I wouldn't be surprised if Georgetown or Villanova were to capture this thing, I think Denver would be my safest of an unsafe bet.
It's been a couple of years since Denver's won the Big East tournament championship.
And they haven't really needed to.
It's
in
true.
Years past.
They need to
and
now.
I'm not sure they need to this year, but I guess they do. I haven't looked at the latest bracketology. But it's important to them. I mean, it does something for whatever their NCAA future looks like.
Yeah, I think that it may be a one big league out there in the Big East with all the different losses. They kind of beat themselves up throughout the conference regular season. Ivy League is looking like a 2 or 3 bid league, and you've got Yale and Cornell in one semifinal, likely for the right to play Penn in the championship. How do you try to figure out an Ivy League that's got 3 teams that are kind of top heavy, and then Brown that's kind of hung around?
To me, this is the must-see TV of the weekend. And I think that it's a situation where the Cornell-Yale game, I like Cornell in that game, but I think they come out of it beat up and exhausted to a degree where I think it could affect them in a game against Penn, even though they'll have all of what was a 3-overtime heartbreaker thriller at the forefront of their mind if they're to take on Penn in a championship game. So it's a situation where I think Yale's the best team in that league, as well as Penn's played here down the stretch, even though they haven't really beaten anybody. And this is their chance to prove that, if they were able to beat Yale again or Cornell if they came there in a championship game. But I think it's going to be a blast to watch that first semi. And to your point, Brown maybe create some havoc in this whole thing. But I just see it as Yale and Penn in a championship game and Penn eking it out based mostly off the fact that Yale have a more challenging final.
Yeah, you got the Friday, Sunday semis. It's an early championship on Sunday afternoon, not a lot of turnaround. So certainly you got to be quick and get the legs all rested up. Finally, you've got the CAA, the conference that we get a chance to have here on Lac Sports Network. We were talking about it before. Your Blue Hens have made this thing just about as wide open as ever. Drexel can score with anybody. How do you measure out what we're going to see in the CAA?
Well, it's tough to break down a conference with a guy who knows it intimately like you do. But from 30,000 feet and from what I've been able to see and all allegiances included here, I think UMass is the most complete team. It feels that way. I love riding a hot goaltender into May. It carried me along with a faceoff guy to a Final Four in 07. And I'm gonna give the Blue Hens my backing in the semis, but as an analyst, I just can't see them knocking off the UMass team in a championship game. So that's kind of how I see it playing out. But I admit that there's the heartstrings tugging at me, and in a league, in a conference that I think you can admit as a guy who's living and breathing it every week, it's kind of completely a toss-up, and Drexel's that wild card.
Yeah, no, and you look at Delaware, they were tied with UMass going into the fourth quarter this past weekend, and just a couple of plays. And a face-off will be the interesting thing for Delaware, and because they got Towson in the semifinals, if Alex Woodall's healthy, that could be interesting to watch. So we'll see what your Blue Hens can do. Coach DeLuca has really gotten them into high gear here in 2 years.
I look at it like they're a year early, too, in a weird way. I mean, I kind of give a new coach 3 years to really institute and bring in their style, their brand. And it feels like whatever they pull off this year, we're going to look back on it as a program and say that this was a turning point. And really, it's the next leap comes in the next few years. So whatever they do at this point, to me, is icing on the cake.
Well, keep your eyes peeled Thursday night here on Lac Sports Network. You don't have a game till Friday, so no excuses.
There you go.
And
we'll appointment viewing.
We'll bring you back later in the show. Thanks, Evan.
Got him in.
All right, coming up on Lacrosse now, we chat with Buffalo Bandits star Dane Smith. How does this season compare to Buffalo's magical year in 2016?
Plus, more NLL talk with indoor insider Jake Elliott. What game most intrigues him as we get ready for the playoffs this weekend?
And can anyone challenge Loyola? Evan Washburn's going to join us again. We look ahead to the Patriot League semifinals now that the quarters are in the books, almost.
Join us for the most rewarding lacrosse tradition, Shootout for Soldiers. Shootout for Soldiers is a 24-hour lacrosse event with a mission to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. Started by a group of high schoolers in Maryland in 2012, Shootout for Soldiers has raised over $3 million for our nation's heroes. A festival-like atmosphere that engages veterans, active duty, and a local community will be hosted in 12 locations in 2019. Registration is open. Men's and women's teams of all ages and abilities are welcome to participate. Visit www.shootoutforsoldiers.com for more information and to register. 24 hours, one game, one goal, support our troops.
We got a good show tonight.
Talking about the high school season.
We're here right now at Dickinson College.
And in order to try to win this stick, we have a trivia question.
Great to have you here.
You play from that emotion, you can't really lose.
You played for a year and you fell in love with the game.
Watch.
Lacrosse Now is brought to you in part by New Balance Lacrosse. Built for lacrosse.
Welcome back. In the NLL, the playoffs are upon us. The Buffalo Bandits, not only the top seed in the East Division, but also the team with the best record in the entire league in the regular season. After missing the playoffs the last 2 years, Buffalo has returned to that 2016 form when they made a run to the NLL Finals, and Dane Smith won MVP. Speaking of great Dane, He's been really good this year as well, up over 100 points for the 4th time in his last 5 seasons, put up a career-best 70 assists this year, and you combine him with Josh Byrne, Sean Evans, Corey Small and company. Offensively, Smith has helped this Bandits boast the highest scoring offense in the NLL. And so Dane joins us now. Dane, a couple years out of the playoffs for you guys. What does it mean for you to be back here in the playoffs of the NLL? How cool is it?
It's awesome. You know what? We haven't been since, I believe, 2016, and that's when we went on that run. And anytime you can kind of lock up first place and play in front of Banditland, it's unbelievable. So we're super excited to play in front of our home fans, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
I'm glad you brought up that 2016 team because that was a special year for you guys and for you individually as well. How do you compare that team to this team this year?
They're very similar. We're a little bit younger this year. We also have Matt Vink, which helps a lot. We didn't have him then. But a lot of similarities. We kind of go into games thinking that we're a great team. We're going to play like a great team, and as long as we stick to the game plan, we're going to get the outcome that we deserve. And we've done that a lot this year. We've had some obviously rough games, but I think it's kind of been a wake-up call. We kind of got a little cocky with those losses that we had this year, and it's sometimes good that teams beat us like that they have this year, and we worry about next game. So we're looking forward to the playoff game this weekend, and we'll see what happens.
You guys obviously entered on a 2-game winning streak, but I'm interested down the stretch. What was that game that was the wake-up call? What was the one that kind of locked everybody back into gear?
I don't know which one exactly it was, but it would have been definitely our last loss. Oh, I guess Toronto. We were up by, I believe, 3 goals with like 4 minutes left, and teams should be able to figure that out. But Toronto's a great team, don't get me wrong, but we kind of lost track there, and I think that was a big wake-up call for us. And after that, we kind of went on a roll again, and we're a great team as long as we play within our systems, but when we get away from it, we're definitely beatable.
And I'm glad you mentioned Matt Vince, but on the back end, it's got to be really good to not have to go against him playing for Rochester anymore. He's now on your side. He kind of has aged like a fine wine. I don't know how he continues to be as good as he is, but it seems like he's getting better. How good has he been this year?
He's been unbelievable. He's been the MVP of our team. He's been the MVP, in my opinion, of the whole league. And it shows. We were in last place last year, and now we're in first. Just by, I think, well, we brought in the right pieces. Steve Dietrich's done a great job bringing in some rookies. I know we had the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th overall pick, which definitely helped. We brought in some good free agents as well, but Matt Vince has been definitely the best pickup that we had, and it goes and shows.
With this offense on the other end of the field, or the floor, it has been special to watch you guys with Josh Byrne and Sean Evans. I mean, all the pieces that you brought in, it seems insane to have all of you on the same side of the floor, but you're making it work. How special is this offense to be a part of?
It's awesome. John Tavares being the best player in the world to ever play, and having him as a coach has helped tremendously. He tells us that it's not just one person. It's we're working for one good shot, and I think we all bought into that system. Where at the beginning of the year we kind of wanted all to take that one shot, and we kind of got away from the game plan. But now you see that we're working together. We're all setting picks for each other, and we're working for that one great shot, and it's kind of shown. So can't thank John Tavares enough, and our whole offense for buying in.
Yeah, you have a career-best 70 assists this year. How much is it the pieces around you that have probably contributed to those numbers?
Definitely the people around me. I can't thank them enough. Obviously, I can just give them the ball, and they'll put the ball in the net when I'm struggling. So I've definitely taken a weight off my shoulder. I feel like 2016 was, like you said, it was a similar year to this year, but we didn't have it. We weren't as deep, I feel like, offensively as we are now. And I think this is as good as time as ever, and having Matt back in the obviously goal and our great defense, it helps when we're struggling to have them kind of backing us up when we need a goal. Our trainer will score, and then when they're struggling, we're scoring. So it's a good mix.
I know we want to talk about lacrosse, but I think the biggest question is, when are you giving up the sport to act? Because from everything I've seen on social media this year, I think you've got a real chance in LA.
Yeah, I wish. It's taken me over 100 tries for each of those things that you've seen, definitely. I don't think I'm the greatest, but I've heard good feedback. So maybe after my long, hopefully, lacrosse career, I can pull that together because I'm not good at anything else. So I'm banking on that.
We've had the Christmas Story. We have Step Brothers. What's been your favorite one so far?
Definitely the Dumb and Dumber scene. That one was definitely one of my favorites. When I saw that one on the list, I said I wanted to do that one. So Step Brothers was another good one. I wasn't a part of that one, but that one was another good one. So our media people have done a great job of setting all those things up. It's definitely not our ideas putting together. We just kind of try our best to reenact that, and I think we've done a decent job by everybody's feedback.
Yeah, no, you've done just fine. This has been fun to watch throughout the season. You also have been working a lot with Josh Byrne. What's it like to spend as much time as you do with Josh off of the floor?
We definitely get sick of each other. I feel like I'm the bigger brother. I definitely take care of him. I hope he's watching this right now or eventually. But no, it's been great. We've built a great relationship. I know in the previous years, me and Matt Ryan from my hometown, we had a great on-floor relationship and off-floor. And after trading him away, losing him, it was tough. But bringing in Josh, he's a great player. He equals out the floor. He's such a great player, and even off the floor, we're great friends. We're roommates, so we're even roommates on the road. So we definitely get sick of each other, but we give each other a hard time here and there. But no fights here with us.
Roommates everywhere. It's the Josh and Dane show taking over the world. Finally, you get New England at your place this weekend. What do you got to look at for the Black Wolves as you want to move on? Yeah,
you know what? They're a great team. We've beaten them twice this year, but that means nothing now. And beating a team 3 times in a row, we're going to be up for a challenge. And they're a great team. They have Callum Crawford, who's had an unbelievable year, Dougie Jamieson in between the pipes. And I think if we stick to our game plan, the results should hopefully go in our favor. But like I said, it's going to be a tough game. I'm glad we're at home. Our fans have been great all year. So we're looking forward to the challenge, and we'll see what happens.
You can be sure that Bandit Land's going to be rocking on Saturday night. Dane, good luck, and good luck throughout the playoffs. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And, of course, Buffalo welcomes New England to the KeyBank Center this Saturday night in the division semifinals. The Bandits won both meetings with the Black Wolves this year, a 15-5 victory back in January and a 12-6 win at home just a couple of weeks ago. You can see the game on BR Live this Saturday. As for now, still to come, more on the NLL playoffs. Does Calgary have the MVP of the league? We break down the playoff matchups with NLL insider Jake Elliott. Plus, the semifinals are set in the Patriot League. We've got the highlights from tonight's quarterfinals, and analyst Evan Washburn weighs in.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, great on the pass. With the first championship.
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Join us for the most rewarding lacrosse tradition, Shootout for Soldiers. Shootout for Soldiers is a 24-hour lacrosse event with a mission to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. Started by a group of high schoolers in Maryland in 2012, Shootout for Soldiers has raised over $3 million for our nation's heroes. A festival-like atmosphere that engages veterans, active duty, and a local community will be hosted in 12 locations in 2019. Registration is open. Men's and women's teams of all ages and abilities are welcome to participate. Visit www.shootoutforsoldiers.com for more information and to register. 24 hours, one game, one goal. Support our troops.
So as we just discussed with Bandits forward Dane Smith, the NLL postseason kicks off this weekend. Buffalo and New England, one of the 1-4 matchup in the East.
And as for the 2-3 matchup, it is going to be a treat. Let's start with the 3 seed, Toronto. Rock finishing the regular season 12-6, winning their final 2 games. The powerful forward trio of Tom Schreiber, Rob Hellier, Adam Jones lead the way. Captain America turning in 94 points, completely healthy this year. A big bounce-back campaign for the Rock after missing the postseason in 2018. And the reason Toronto is traveling down to Duluth, Georgia, is because the Swarm beat them 2 out of 3 times in the regular season. Georgia went 12-6, 2 wins against Toronto. One was by 1 goal back in December. The 2017 champs are led by Lyle Thompson, Randy Stotts, and Shane Jackson. They have Mike Poulin manning the cage as well. Georgia, last year in the playoffs, fell in the East Final to Rochester.
Let's go over to the West now. The defending champions, the 1 seed once again. The Saskatchewan Rush went 11-7 in the regular season, slightly down from a year ago, but Sask closed the year by winning 5 of their final 6, maybe finally rounding into the form we expected them to be in. Mark Matthews, superb once again, 105 points on the year for the reigning MVP. The Rush used both Evan Kirk and Adam Shute in goal, nearly splitting the team's win total. And the Rush host the Mammoth, who skidded into the playoff picture. Colorado has the worst record of any team in the playoffs, and it's not even close. Mammoth went 6-12. They lost their final 4 games of the year, but they still got in.
Yeah, that's something.
Sorry to rub it in, Vancouver. Eli McLaughlin led the way, 76 points, team high 35 goals, team best 41 assists. It wasn't Dylan Ward's best campaign between the pipes, but we've seen over the last several years at times has proved to be the best goalie in all of lacrosse.
And the other West semifinal features the 2 seed San Diego. The Seals are a great story, taking the league by storm. 9-4 start over their first 13 games in the inaugural season, but they lost 4 of their last 5, and then we all heard they lost their rookie phenom, Austin Stotts, with an ACL tear. Incredible year out of veteran Dan Dawson, who hasn't slowed down a bit. 88 points. Garrett Billings was also a spark, and then he also added Frank Scigliano, like many in expansion, trying to prove they're capable to be a starter in the NLL. He did just that. Seals run into the Roughnecks of Calgary, who these 2 teams flip-flopped a few times during the regular season. Calgary hopes to get back to the NLL West Division Final. Curtis Dixon of Oakville Point, of course, but let's not forget Dane Doby. A dominant year, 47 goals, 68 assists, 115 points, the leading scorer in the NLL. Big reason why the Roughnecks won 5 of the last 7 games. They are sneaky good right now, rolling into the playoffs.
So we've got Jake Elliott joining us now to break down some of these playoff matchups. Jake, we were talking a little bit before. I want to go, what game intrigues you the most? What's the most interesting one of these 4 games?
Yeah, out of the 4, I got to go with Toronto and Georgia. I really think this is probably going to be the most even matchup of the week. You look at their records, identical 12-6 records here. The 3 games that they played against each other through the regular season, I think were all 3 one-goal games, one of them going to overtime as well. Georgia with a pretty good home record, Toronto with an okay road record. That's a little concerning to me for the Rock. But what's a little concerning to me for the Swarm is the health of Mike Poulin in goal. We saw him go down a couple of weeks ago with looked like a pretty serious hamstring injury. He hasn't played since. We saw the youngster Roman and Craig Wendy kind of get lit up in their last couple of games. So if Mike Poulin is not at 100%, I don't know what percent he'll be at. I think he's going to play the game. But when you're a goaltender and you got a hamstring or a groin, you're like one save away from being back out of the game again. So that's a huge concern for me, is the health of Mike Poulin. If he's good to go in 100%, then I like Georgia's chances a lot. And if he's not, then I'm going to take Toronto. But I still think this game comes down to maybe a final possession or even overtime to settle it.
Yeah, we've seen drama throughout the regular season between those two, and you knew ended up in that 2-3 matchup in the East, it was going to be a blockbuster game with how good, especially those top three have been. Buffalo gets the top seed. In my estimation, they've had some ups and downs throughout the year, but they've probably been the most consistent, best team in the entire NLL all season. New England got a shot against these guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's the National Lacrosse League, Travis. It's a one-game showdown. You got a shot. Like, everybody's got a shot in this. And that's a scary proposition for teams like Saskatchewan and Buffalo who, finished first in their division. But when it's one game and anything can happen, it's a scary proposition. But you're right. I think Buffalo's been the most consistent team from start to finish. With their draft picks and Gilray and McKay kind of shoring up that back end. The addition of Corey Small into that offense. They bring in Chris Cloutier as well, who is the number 2 overall pick. They're so deep up front. They got Chase Fraser, Thomas Hogarth. They can slot those guys in and out. Sean Evans, Dane Smith. It is a potent offense. So for me in this game, when you look at it, New England is probably going to have to score at least 11 or 12 to try and win. Buffalo puts up 13, 14 on a pretty consistent basis. The problem for me for the Black Wolves, I guess it's the Black Wolves' problem, not my problem, is trying to score goals on Matt Vince. Like, you look at his last game down there in San Diego, he allowed 5 and then got pulled. Zach Higgins came in and allowed 2, but that's still, like, he's held teams under 8 goals, I think I want to say like 6 or 7 times this year, which is just absurd. And he's going to win his 7th Goaltender of the Year award coming up later this year. He is playing lights out right now. So for me, I don't know how the Black Wolves manufacture enough goals to try and beat Buffalo, but you never know. I mean, Colin Crawford coming off a performance where he put up 7 on his own. So it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could.
Be happy is not your problem trying to score against Matt Vince. It's not a good problem to have. He's like a fine wine. He gets better with age. This guy is unbelievable. New team, and he comes in, and he has been stellar once again. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, we were talking about this and Matt Vince and how good he's been late in his career, but it's not just him this season. You look at Dane Dobie, who's going to win the MVP. What is he? He's like 11 years deep and having his best season. Jeff Shatler came very close to eclipsing a career high in goals. Dan Dawson close to 100 points in his 18th year. It's crazy to watch these veterans and the seasons that they're having. It's almost like a renaissance. It's been really fun to watch. You mentioned a couple of guys in that game that I'm about to get to with Dawson and Dobie in San Diego and Calgary. This is the other one that I just don't know, because San Diego's been good, but their wins they're close. They don't blow people out, and Calgary has come on strong. How do you digest this one?
Yeah, I really think Calgary's probably the hottest team in the National Lacrosse League right now. You look at their last 2 wins over Georgia and then Saskatchewan, where they just, took them to the woodshed and put a whooping on them. 18-8 in that one. So they had the bye week at the end of the year, which probably they didn't want. The way they're playing right now, that's probably the last thing they wanted to do was take a week off. But that's the situation that they were in. They can't do anything about that. You look at San Diego, 6-3 on their home floor, but I think they've lost 5 out of their last 6 here coming down the stretch. And ever since Austin Stotts went down, they just haven't been the same team. I think Frank Scigliano is kind of running out of steam a little bit. We'll see if he can bounce back. I think that goaltending matchup is a real intriguing one. Christian Del Bianco and Frank Scigliano are very good friends away from the lacrosse floor, and I think that's going to be a fun matchup. I like the coaching matchup between Pat Merrill and Kurt Malowski. That's going to be one to watch as well. And I just think, is San Diego going to be able to manufacture enough goals to keep pace with Calgary? Look, Jesse King back in that roughneck lineup. It's really added another dimension. And that offense is already so dynamic with Dutch and Dixon. They won't have Tyler Pace down there in San Diego, which will be a loss for them. But you look on the other side, Dobie and Taylor and Riley Lowen all clicking along. I just don't know if San Diego's going to have enough goals in the tank to match Calgary in the way their offense is going right now, which is clicking. And Del Bianco seems to be kind of coming into his own here late in the season, which is a scary proposition for opponents.
And imagine what Calgary could have been if West Berg and they could have figured something out contract-wise. It's crazy to think about, but that was the story coming in, and he hasn't played the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes Dane Dobie the MVP for me. To to mesh with Reese Dutch right off the get-go, a guy that he's never played with before, to not have Jesse King kind of running beside him, and then not have Wes Berg or Curtis Dixon, for that matter, to start the year in Calgary, and to have the year that he had. He's been consistent and really carried that team all year long, and that's why he's my MVP. Not just because he's at the top of the scoring race, but it's how he's done it. But yeah, I mean, what do you do with Wes Berg now if you're Calgary? I don't think you really need him back. Like, you look at their right side, it's going pretty good. So that's a nice little chip that Mike Board and Kurt Malowski have there in Calgary. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I honestly think Wes Berg's days are done in Calgary. I think that bridge has been burnt, and I don't think he's going back there. Now it's just a matter of where he's going to go and what they're going to get for him when he goes somewhere.
Finally, let's talk about the team that you've had a chance to see for most of the year in Saskatchewan, the top seed in the West. It looked a little iffy about midway through the year on if Saskatchewan would be this top seed, but they get it. They play Colorado. If there's any game that, I don't know, I know it's the NLL and it's one game, but if there's any game I feel safe in, it's the Rush beating the Mammoth. What's the advantage the Rough have against Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you say that makes me nervous, Travis. That's how tight that it is in the National Lacrosse League, right? Like, the fact that you feel comfortable makes me nervous going into this game. But you look at it, their first two games of the year, 9-7 for Saskatchewan. So they are very tight games, both teams under 10 goals. And I think Saskatchewan's going to get over 10, and that's really where the problem is for Colorado. You look at their last stretch of games coming down the regular season, and especially with Eli McLaughlin going out, who I think may get back in. I don't know how healthy he is going to be, but if they don't have Eli, I don't like their chances. If they do, they go up significantly. Jeremy Noble kind of got off the schneid a little bit in that final game. He had a hat trick. He hadn't scored since December, Travis. So he had 2 goals in his very first game for the Mammoth in the season, and then went about 4 months without scoring a goal. And once they got down in that game, they really looked to kind of get Noble going, and it looked like his confidence was coming back. So that's a little bit of a scary proposition for the Rush as well. But it was a tumultuous year for Saskatchewan with their players going in and out of their lineup, losing guys, a couple of new bodies in there. They make the trade for Campbell. Starting goaltender goes down for the better part of 5 weeks, and that's adversity that Saskatchewan's never had to deal with, never mind having a new voice on the back end as a defensive coach for Jeremy Talevi. So a lot of things happening for Saskatchewan over the course of the year, but at the end of the day, they battle through it. They win their 6th division title in a row. They got home floor throughout the playoffs, and they are so tough to beat at home. And they're 3-0 against Colorado so far this year. So I like the Rush's chances in this one, but I don't think it's going to be an easy time of it by any means.
Certainly never easy come playoff time. Jake, we appreciate the insight. Keep the ears peeled for Jake with Lacrosse Classified Podcast. We appreciate the time, and we'll catch up again soon throughout the playoffs.
Hey, my pleasure, my man. Enjoy the calls. I know you're like off to Utah and Amherst and all over the place. Have a good time, man. Always enjoy listening to your call.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.
All right, coming up on Lacrosse Now, our pal Evan Washburn weighs in on the Patriot League tournament. He knows a thing or two about calling PL action. He's been plenty on CBS. Evan's going to break things down for us.
He's got the semifinals, plus plenty of conference tournaments get going later on this week, including in the CAA. Maybe one of the most wide open tournaments of the entire country. Starts Thursday here on LSN. We'll dive into the matchups when we come back.
Join us for the most rewarding lacrosse tradition, Shootout for Soldiers. Shootout for Soldiers is a 24-hour lacrosse event with a mission to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. Started by a group of high schoolers in Maryland in 2012, Shootout for Soldiers has raised over $3 million for our nation's heroes. A festival-like atmosphere that engages veterans, active duty, and a local community will be hosted in 12 locations in 2019. Registration is open. Men's and women's teams of all ages and abilities are welcome to participate. Visit www.shootoutforsoldiers.com for more information and to register. 24 hours, one game, one goal. Support our troops.
We got a good show tonight.
Talking about the high school season.
We're here right now at Dickinson College.
And in order to try to win this stick, we have a trivia question.
Great to have you here.
You play from that emotion, you can't really lose.
You played for a year and you fell in love with the game.
Watch Beyond the Game on LS.
The Patriot League has been an absolute dogfight this year, and I'm not just saying that because there are terriers and greyhounds involved.
Nicely done.
Yeah, that was really bad. Outside of Loyola, though, at the top, it's been relatively wide open all year.
Here's the perfect example. Colgate beat Syracuse to start the year. They didn't even make the 6-team tournament. Neither did Navy. Tonight, 4 teams battling in the quarters for spots opposite top seeds Loyola and Lehigh in the semis. In West Point, the Black Knights taking on the Crusaders of Holy Cross in quarterfinal action. We'll get started with Sean Mullaney. He's going to come right down the middle, squirm around the D and score. Holy Cross leading 2-0. We're tied at 2 later in the first. Nate Jones to Sean O'Brien. Scoring in front for the Black Knights. They take the lead. Army's still up 4-3. Nate Jones out in front. You said it. Falls and scores. 2-goal cushion for Army. Still in the second, early minutes, Connor Waldron passing to Sean Mullaney, who fires and scores. He can dish it, he can finish it. Army's lead is just 1, 5-4. Black Knights up 3, midway through the third. Jeremy Angle finds the angle, throwing a Nate Jones with another score. Army doubling the Crusaders, 8-4. We pick it up in the fourth. Flag is in, but you can pick it back up, sir, because Sean O'Brien behind the net passing to Nate Jones. He had himself a game. It's 11-4 Army. Tommy Mariano behind the net working up to Miles Silva. Tips it in. Army up 10. They would go on to win by 9, 14-5. Brendan Nichtern headlined the day with a career-high 6 assists. And he added 2 goals in his postseason debut. The second team All-Patriot League selection, now tied for the single-season scoring record in Army's 102 years as a program with 45. Black Knights led by senior captain Nate Jones, 4 goals. He added 2 helpers in the game. Miles Silva, you just heard, Nicholas Garofano, each recording a hat trick on the day to mark the second time this season 3 or more Army players netted at least 3 goals apiece. A.J. Barreto backed Army's defense, 12 saves in the cage, only 4 goals. And the second team All-Patriot League player also had 3 ground balls and caused a turnover. West Point moving on.
Yeah, emphatic win for Army. The other quarterfinal also a bit one-sided. 3-seed BU hosting Bucknell. Remember, the Terriers' only team in conference to beat top seed Loyola in conference play this season. Early on, BU already up 2-0. Let's go in transition, shall we? Chris Gray. Well, he's really good at lacrosse. He's only a sophomore. Here, takes his man one-on-one. He will not be stopped. 3-zip.
I have a feeling we'll hear his name again.
Earlier. Yeah. How about Tommy Sopko looking to answer here for the Bison? Bucknell, right back at you. Tommy from downtown cuts it to a 3-1 game, but a lot more where that came from for the Terriers. Jump ahead. It's now a 9-1 game. BU, well, they're just going to keep on running. Blake Phillips to James Burr. He had himself a game. 10-1. Terriers in cruise control early in the second half. But remember, this is win or go home. Bucknell not ready to go home quite yet. Reed Malice bringing the Bison right back into this thing. They cut it to a 5-goal game. Remember, they were down by 9. It's now 5. But BU says, hey, enough of that. Josh Williamson up ahead to James Burr. Burr buries it. 14-8 your final. Chris Gray leading the way. Only one goal in the highlight, but he had 5 of them on the game. 9 points for Chris Gray.
This was a bad guess. We'd hear his name again.
He could. Usually, it's a very good guess. Get this, he has 4 or more points in every single game this season, and only one game with 4 points. That was the first game of the year. So every other game, he's had 5 or more points this year. James Burr, 5 points tonight, 4 goals and assists. Joe McSorley, really good in cage as well. He made 15 saves. Sean Christman, 58% at the X. All in all, Terriers win and advance.
All right, here's an updated look at the Patriot League Men's Lacrosse Tournament bracket. So that sets up Chalk, Loyola, and Army in semifinal number 1. And then Boston University, as you just witnessed, beating Bucknell, so they get Lehigh 2 seed in semifinal number 2. For more on the Patriot League semifinals, Travis, joined by Evan Washburn.
And so we bring back in analyst Evan Washburn here to talk about the rest of the Patriot League tournament. Evan, the top seed is Loyola. Everybody knows about this team. They've been in the top 10, top 5 in the country all season long. The thing that stands out to me when you look at, and this is a great time for reflection, is Pat Spencer, now a 4-time Offensive Player of the Year in the conference. That's insane. He's been doing it as the top offensive player in the league since he was a freshman.
It is unbelievable. It feels like I've been calling his games for the last 10 years, and it's about to wrap up here, at least when it comes to my involvement. And there's a lack of descriptive words at this point, or at least you're going to be redundant to describe what he's done. And I think that the importance of this final run for Pat Spencer will really cement his legacy. It's going to be one, no matter what happens this weekend and then the NCAA tournament, that will go down as one of the best players to ever play the college game. But I think he has a chance to really elevate himself to that top 5 category, Mount Rushmore, whatever cliche sports talk radio conversation you want to have. Because when you do think about it, in his opportunities in NCAA tournament games, he hasn't always brought his best. And so starting this weekend, he's always showing up for the Patriot League tournament. But it starts a run to me in May that's going to take him from maybe that top 10 all-time, top 5 to maybe one of the best, if not the best ever.
So Loyola as the top seed. They get to host the semifinals in the championship game. They're at Mount Ridley. How surprised would you be if anybody else hoists the trophy by the end of this weekend?
More shocked this year than any other year. I know Boston beat them at home at Boston, at BU, and that's an opponent that could trouble Loyola. But I don't see that happening again. I hope those two meet in a championship game. I think it'd be fun. The problem for BU in that regard is no team does the Tuesday, Friday, Sunday thing. It's too tough, especially for Loyola being at home during all of that. But it seems to me the separation this year is larger than in even years past.
So then you have the number 2 seed in Lehigh, and this is a team that when that Loyola game in the middle of the year kind of seemed like the cutoff. They have had difficulties with injuries on defense, and they back now into the postseason with 2 straight losses. In trying to figure out the Mountain Hawks and the team we're going to see here on Friday, what are you feeling like?
The sense I've gotten from talking to Kevin Cadiz and that crew is that, yes, they backed in, they recognize it, they've been beat up, they touched on it. It's completely eviscerated the idea of having any continuity and chemistry, but they feel like they bottomed out against Holy Cross on Friday. They've had what will end up being a week off in between games, something they haven't had in a number of weeks. They feel like that keeps them healthy in some areas, but more so than any, because you're not getting Eddie Bruhall back, you're not getting 2 starters on defense back, you're not getting Andrew Pettit back. But guys know their role. They know what they need to do. So what's been a Band-Aid situation for the last month becomes more of an ace wrap that's a little bit more comfortable in terms of trying to cover up some gaping wounds. And they'll be able to take on a team, as they hope, will have had a challenge Tuesday night and then has to travel to Baltimore.
And you can see the semifinals with Evan on CBS Sports Network this Friday night. Evan, enjoy the call. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, bud.
Coming up next, we will see if UMass and Towson battle in the CAA title game again this year. It was supposed to be a question. Drexel and Delaware might have something to say about that. CAA men's tourney preview on the way.
And we'll also get to the women's tournament in the CAA. James Madison, the reigning champs, and not just the reigning CAA champs, the reigning national champion. No big deal. Pressure's on for the Dukes. We'll break down their 2019 season and their chance to repeat.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Coach Quirk here. Today we're going to be covering our clearing game. Okay, the next drill is clearing. We're going to use 2 low defenders, a midfielder at the top of the box, and a midfielder pinching down low to simulate a clear to push our offense. We'll start with the goalie with the ball, breaking out to the wing player, calling for the ball, get that overpass, build up the ladder up the field, and our midfielders breaking up for some transition. Really the fundamentals that we're working on are overpasses, stick work, breaking to the ball, and breaking upfield to receive a pass to start the offense. Break. Overpass completed. Now we're building the ladder up the field. Player coming to the ball, midi breaking up the field to start transition. At every level, clearing is instrumental to starting the team offense. A few coaching points during the clearing drill: communication, good crisp passes, fundamentals, stick work, breaking to the ball, and breaking up the field.
One of the most interesting conference tournaments in the entire country being played at UMass starting on Thursday.
The Colonial Athletic Association tournament features 2 top 15 teams, a couple of top 10 defensive teams, the best goalie in the country, and another offense that ranks top 15 in the nation. It seems to be wide open as we look ahead, as wide open as we've seen in a few years here.
Yeah, the top seed UMass plays Drexel in the first semifinal on Thursday. The Minutemen, the top seed for the second year in a row, winning the tourney at Garber Field last year, their first CAA title since 2012. This season, they enter the tournament winners of 9 of their last 10 games, and they've got goalie Sean Scanoni playing like one of the best in the country, tops in the nation in save percentage, number 2 in the country in goals against average.
But Drexel gave those Minutemen all they could handle in the regular season. Dragons had a 6-2 lead at the half before UMass had its offense wake up in the second half. This Drexel offense is one that hasn't been quiet much this year. They rank 13th in the country, averaging more than 13 goals per game. They also have one of the top goal scorers in the country in Reed Bowering, 6th in the nation, scoring more than 3 goals per.
The second semifinal features a rematch of 2 weeks ago. Number 12, Towson takes on Delaware. The Tigers won that regular season meeting and seem to have found their stride after 4 losses in 6 games in the middle of the year. Offensively, Brendan Sunday continues to lead in a breakout senior year for him. But the big concern comes at the face-off X. Star Alex Woodall did not play last week at Drexel because of an upper body injury. We don't know his status yet for this week's CAA tourney, but anytime you have an All-American not playing, that's usually an issue.
That would be a nice break for the Blue Hens, who have struggled at the face-off dot this year. Otherwise, this has been another step forward in year 2 under Ben DeLuca. head coach. Delaware already has 10 wins this season, their first double-digit win season since 2011. That's also the last time the Blue Hens won the CAA tourney.
Maybe a little foreshadowing. Who knows? Remember, you can see both semifinals and the CAA championship only here on Lac Sports Network. It starts with the first semifinal, 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. UMass taking on Drexel. The second semi comes around 7:30 Eastern time, about 45 minutes after the end of the first one. Tigers and Blue Hens in that one. The championship set, 1 p.m. Eastern, Saturday afternoon in Amherst. All games live for free on LSN and any free LSN app. You can download it on your phone, your TV, your Roku, all the above. Find us, Lac Sports Network. It's going to be a fun tournament. Speaking of fun tournaments in the CAA, we're also bringing you the CAA Women's Tournament. We'll look ahead to Friday's semifinals coming up.
Plus, you have to see the video the Loyola women's team put out. It will pull at your heartstrings.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Welcome back. Why don't we turn our attention to the CAA Women's Tournament now?
Sure thing, yeah. We're going to start with Elon in order to bid to the fourth consecutive CAA championship, the Phoenix's fourth straight, clinching their spot with a win over William and Mary on Friday, April 26th. The Phoenix's May McGlynn has led Elon on this attack this season. McGlynn, 4 goals on the season. We're going to show you some highlights here in just a second. There we go. There we go. It's getting late, but we're still up. 40 goals for the season. She is now Elon's second student athlete to score 40 goals in a season in program history. It's just the third time a player has reached 40 goals in a season, joining Stephanie Asher's 58 in 2017 and 44 in 2015 as the only other 40-goal seasons.
Meanwhile, James Madison finished the CAA regular season with an unblemished record for the second consecutive year. And coming into the CAA tournament is the top seed for the 4th straight season. Duke's led by senior attacker Hannah Havens, senior defender Caroline Sanowich. Haven, an Inside Lacrosse Women's Media honorable mention in the preseason All-American list. She leads the Dukes in goals, assists, and ranks second in the CAA in points. Sanowich, also an IL Media honorable mention preseason All-American, has bolstered a JMU defense that leads the CAA in goals against average. Sanowich ranks 4th in the league in caused turnovers, 6th in draw controls, and 9th in ground balls. The only player to rank top 10 in all 3 categories in the conference, the reigning national champions, so they'll look to do it again starting on Friday.
Hofstra's made its way back to the CAA tournament for the first time in 4 years. The Pride are led by junior midfielder Alyssa Perella, leads the nation in goals with 82, broke the CAA single-season goals record previously set by James Madison's Gail Decker with 81. That was 15 years ago. 256 career points for Perella, past former Hofstra standout Britton Aldermer's total of 247 from 2012 to become the Pride's all-time leader in points. Pride have looked to the freshman Jess Smith in goal to keep opponents at bay. Smith holds the second best goals against average in the CAA with a 50.3 save percentage, also good for second in the conference.
Towson headed back to the CAA championship for the 12th straight year, the longest such streak in the CAA. Tigers got into the tournament looking for their 8th CAA title in program history, and first since 2016. Townsend's defense, led by junior defender Sammy Chenoweth, has caused headaches for CAA opponents all season long. Tigers have averaged 11.6 caused turnovers per game and 9.2 caused turnovers per game in CAA play. Chenoweth broke the CAA single-season record for caused turnovers against Hofstra April 19th. Tigers relying on senior attacker Natalie Salmonte on offense. She ranks second in the CAA in goals and fourth in points.
Don't forget CAA Women's Championship tournament coverage on Lac Sports Network Friday and Sunday. Friday starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and then on Sunday, we're also going to have the game afterwards, Towson Hofstra, at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Championship game set for Sunday at 12:05 p.m. Eastern on the campus of JMU.
As for now, you've got to see this video from the Loyola women's lacrosse team. It's awesome, and we'll show it to you next.
Grab tissues.
Had all of the senior parents write to their kid a letter from home.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Aww. Oh god. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
Dear Kristen, dearest Manders,
Our sweet Lindsay.
dear Hannah,
Wow, can't believe it's your senior year.
it seems like it was just yesterday that we were holding you in our arms and you were taking your first steps.
Remember when you played on the boys lacrosse team and we would go to the NCAA championship games, all Florham Park families? That is when you realized your dream to be a Division I lacrosse player.
You are one of the kindest, most loving, empathetic, strongest, and the most, and the absolute.
And that was the Loyola women's lacrosse team reading letters from their parents
That they didn't know that were
that
coming.
they didn't know were coming. And it was really, really cool. So check it out, the Loyola women's lacrosse Instagram account.
It's that time of year. Graduation's coming up.
It's a time to reflect, but also a time win in advance.
Win.
Keep going. You got to keep that senior year going. And we're going to keep this going tomorrow night. We'll see you then.